I have a serious problem. I tend to just not let things marinate with movies. I'll explain. I've done this with Furious 7, Suicide Squad, and just recently with John Wick 2. These are films that I initially loved, but ended up either disliking or not liking as much as I wanted to, because I didn't want to accept the fact that they just weren't as good as their predecessors. Or in Suicide Squad's case, I didn't want to accept the fact that we can go even lower than Dawn of Justice. And, well, history repeats itself yet again with Star Wars The Last Jedi. But here, I was at least able to catch myself before putting up a review on YouTube. Yeah, I know what I said on Twitter, but I literally had just gotten out of seeing it when I sent that tweet, so I think I was still riding that high of the amazing third act. Looking back on it though, while it is a lot more original in both premise and execution, the action is a lot better, and the acting is great from everybody, it's still not as good as Force Awakens, A New Hope, or even Empire. Now, you may have a question now. Wait, did you just say that The Force Awakens was your favorite Star Wars movie? Yes, I did. Does it have its flaws? Yes, of course, which we'll get into later. However, it was just a lot more entertaining and memorable than The Last Jedi, oddly enough. First, let's go more in depth into the actual good parts about this movie. The acting from everybody was really good, even from Gwendolyn Christie as Captain Phasma. Yeah, we'll get into that soon. The action in here is damn amazing, and as some of the best in the entire franchise. I mean, there's one scene in here where, like, a small ship decides to rip through the First Order ships using light speed, and it's built up and paid off so well that it's unnatural. It's easily like the best action scene in here along with, well, the entire third act. The effects are great as usual, but the cinematography in here is amazing. The same DP for this movie also did Looper, another Rian Johnson movie and probably one of the best movies ever made, and he made San Andreas watchable, which is no easy feat. I mean, I was already sold when we saw the little rocks levitating by Rey's hand, and when the older ship bounced off the desert ground, just from the first teaser. But there were actually so many other beautiful shots and set pieces, specifically with Snoke's throne, that it was phenomenal. Not to mention, this movie is actually, like, really funny. Not just dialogue-wise, but with little details in the background. I mean, there's a scene in this where Kylo Ren is barking orders to, like, this Imperial officer, and then Hux, his second-in-command, just repeats what he says. The face Ren makes after that is priceless, and there are more scenes as clever as that. Not all of it is as subtle, though. There is a really weird scene where Luke Skywalker is, like, milking this animal, and it's not subtle or funny. It's just weird. Otherwise, I laughed at pretty much every single joke in here. So, on a technical note, this movie is great. However, like I said, it ain't flawless. I'll start with the ones that spoil the movie, so if you care about spoilers, just go to this point in the video to skip it. Sorry it had to happen, but hey, at least I warned you. Now, the first attraction will sound a bit macabre, but it's a huge problem I had. They didn't follow through with killing off Leia. I would be saying this even if Carrie Fisher were still with us. Like, as you might have recalled in the trailer, there's a moment where Kylo is debating on whether or not to shoot down the part of the ship that has his mother, like, basically right there. And in the movie, it's just as legitimately heartbreaking and intense as it was in the trailer. And it's made even more heartbreaking when, after he kind of hesitated, two Imperial fighters basically blew that station up regardless. It turned into a very shocking moment, but was satisfying, and I believe that it was Rian Johnson's every intent to just kill her off right there. However, because Disney is the way they are, they most likely got cold feet and said, okay, that's gonna piss off fans, and we don't want to hurt the feelings of irrational Star Wars fanboys, so just have her use her force powers to float back to the ship in one of the dumbest looking scenes audiences will see all year. I might have paraphrased a tad. And clearly that judgment call worked out. Fans love it. Second attraction is the fact that it took potentially interesting characters and subplots that were established in Episode 7 and either wastes them or stretches the anticipation even further. We were all curious as to who Rey's parents were, and we'll give them some credit, they at least didn't go the easy route and just make her Luke's daughter. However, take that credit away for doing more teasing of her backstory in here. It's like I could just hear them dancing around in the background talking about some
Got him! Got him!
They also wasted Snoke in this, despite them actually improving his character at first. I mean, he looks better, and they portray him as like this intimidating but playful villain. There's like this really good scene in here where like Rey tries to move this lightsaber from next to Snoke with the Force and use it. But by barely lifting his finger, Snoke is able to like move the lightsaber back to him while hitting Rey in the back of the head with it. Like, I don't know, that was just awesome. They also build him up as this omnipotent force to be reckoned with. He can apparently sense your every move and intention before you make it. Yet, how does he go out? By failing to sense Kylo Ren's every move and intention of killing him. So, either the movie failed to be consistent with a very simple character trait on a level that we haven't seen done this badly since Signs, or Snoke's just lying through his goddamn teeth. However, by far, the most wasted character in this whole thing, probably this whole trilogy, is Captain Phasma. My main problem with 7 was how they absolutely wasted her character, and a great actress. And it's even worse here because I recall the producer saying that she'll definitely get more screen time in this movie. In here, she shows up for like 5 minutes and it's all cool, but she practically goes out with a whimper. Like, she's defeated by Finn pretty quickly. Completely wasted potential thanks to, most likely, Disney. So for those that skipped the spoilers, to sum it up, the movie took a lot of elements from The Force Awakens and either went nowhere with them or completely ruined them. Another problem that I had was the Force's hell romance between Rose and Finn. I mean, it came out of nowhere and was just weird. In fact, quite a few scenes with them weren't that good. And no, I'm not talking about the scenes where they go into the casino. I actually had no problem with that. What I did have a problem with was the so cheesy it's in most direct-to-DVD kids movies B-plot involving these horse-like creatures on the planet. I mean, that was up there with Leia of Steel in terms of goofiness. Finally, it would be that the movie does take a while before it really starts to click. Pseudo-spoiler, but before Rey decides to basically leave the island that Luke's on, the movie does take a bit to find its footing. As soon as she leaves, though, the score shoots up from like a 6 to a high 8 out of 10 at least. While it definitely isn't as good as The Force Awakens and wastes quite a bit of potential, I still enjoyed The Last Jedi quite a bit. I mean, if I had to rank it, it would be between Empire and Rogue One. It's far from the worst Star Wars movie ever made, despite what hyperbolic fanboys would have you believe. Anyway, to sum this up, buy some Porgs!